Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Harold Washington College, one of the 7 colleges that form a strong and vibrant city colleges of Chicago, one that will be pivotal to the vision and plan Mayor Lightfoot has for an inclusive economic recovery and vibrancy in all of its neighborhoods for all of its people. I want to thank you, Mayor, for joining me today, for inspiring us as a city, and for leading with just such genuine care, absolute strength, and the right vision for our city. I want to thank the Harold Washington College President, Daniel Lopez, for hosting us today. We are here today to address student debt and the impact that student debt has on the lives of families in Chicago. Too often, college debt stands in the way of a person's dreams for their futures. It stands in the way of economic progress for their families and for our city. A college credential is pivotal to workforce success. We all know that. Especially during economic downturns, students should be completing their credentials and degrees. This is no time to stop, no time to take a gap year, especially for students from our local communities. In fact, during the 2008 recession, the economy lost 5.6 million jobs for people with only a high school diploma and gained only 80,000 jobs during the recovery. But if you had a bachelor's degree, those gained 187,000 jobs during the last recession and gained 8.4 million jobs during the recovery. For college students, this is the time to accelerate completion of your degree. But students with debt, well, they are stuck. With debt, they can't register for courses, they can't complete their certificate and degree, and most likely won't be part, as well as we want them to be, of the recovery that we know will happen with the great leadership of our mayor. So we are committed at City Colleges to helping our former students erase this debt, complete a credential, and launch a career path that leads to better jobs, better pay, and upward mobility for themselves and for their families. That's why we're announcing today Fresh Start, City College's debt forgiveness program to support and propel these students to success. More than 21,000 former students are eligible for this program, totaling $17.7 million in debt. These students have had success with us before. They accumulated some college credit and left in good academic standing, and now they can finish what they started. Some students have as little as 1 course or 1 semester left to obtain their degree. These students are 51% Black, 34% Latinx. Many come from the neighborhoods most impacted by the economic crisis and the lasting effects of systemic racism in our society. These are students like Latille Willis, who you will hear from shortly. I want to thank her for joining us here today. And students like Deontay Baker, for whom this is a chance to realize their career dreams. Let me tell you about Deontay for a minute. After graduating from ACT Charter School in 2011, Deontay Baker attended a 4-year university for 1 semester. Being a first-generation college student, he felt lost and overwhelmed, and he had no financial support at home. He wasn't sure what kind of a career he wanted, so he started working full-time instead. Once he started working at After School Matters in music education, he knew he had found his calling. In 2015, Deontay started taking classes at Harold Washington College, which was easy to get from his home in the Austin neighborhood. Over the next few years, he continued to take a class or 2 at a time as he continued his full-time work schedule. In the spring of 2019, he was working 2 jobs to support himself, and that, combined with some additional personal challenges, made it impossible for him to continue his classes. Unfortunately, this took place right before midterms, so he had missed the date by which he could drop his classes without being financially responsible for them. Unable to pay his debt to CCC, Deontay was therefore unable to register for classes to continue his path in music education. But now he can. Deontay says, I've been hoping to figure out a way to get back into the classroom, and the Fresh Start program will give me another chance to finish my associate's degree and transfer to a four-year college so I can earn my bachelor's degree in music education. We know there are 21,000, more than 21,000 Deontays who we are ready to help restart their college career. So through Fresh Start, a returning City College student will see half of their outstanding debt forgiven if they remain enrolled and make satisfactory academic progress through their first new term. The remaining half of their balance will be forgiven when they complete their credential, either an associate's degree, advanced, or basic certificate. And this will all be based on their academic plan. At the point of re-enrollment, students will commit to an advising sessions with a City College of Chicago advisor and a confidential financial empowerment session with City College's partner Working Credit to support their academic goals and leave financially stronger. We are so excited about this financial empowerment component because we know our students need this support. So those interested in taking advantage of Fresh Start will, again, enroll in at least one approved credit course at CCC. They'll pay a one-time $75 non-refundable reinstatement fee upon re-enrollment. Commit to a financial empowerment session to leave financially stronger. Meet with an advisor and develop an academic plan to support their academic goals. We're going to ask them to, if they're eligible, complete a FAFSA, and to, as every student does, satisfy new term payment arrangements at city colleges. And of course, they need to stay enrolled, remain enrolled for the current term, maintain satisfactory academic progress, and as I said before, complete. This program, Fresh Start, will take effect in the fall 2020 semester, which is just upon us, and will run through 2023. This is a limited time opportunity. City Colleges invites qualifying individuals to take advantage of this limited time opportunity. You can call us at 773-COLLEGE or go online at www.ccc.edu/freshstart. I want to share just a few remarks in Spanish as well. Buenas tardes y bienvenidos a Harold Washington College, uno de los 7 colegios que forman parte de los vibrantes y fuertes colegios de la ciudad de Chicago, los mismos que serán fundamentales para la visión y el plan de la alcaldesa Lightfoot tiene para una inclusive recuperación y vitalidad de nuestra ciudad y economía. Quiero agradecerle a la alcaldesa por acompañarme hoy, por inspirarnos como ciudad y por liderarnos con atención genuina, fuerza absoluta y la visión correcta para nuestra ciudad. Hoy estamos aquí para hablar acerca de la deuda estudiantil y el impacto que la deuda estudiantil tiene en las vidas de las familias en Chicago. Con demasiada frecuencia, la deuda estudiantil obstaculiza los sueños que una persona tiene para su futuro. Una credencial universitaria es fundamental para el éxito de la fuerza laboral. Todos lo sabemos, especialmente durante las recesiones económicas. Los estudiantes con estas deudas están estancados. Con la deuda, estos estudiantes no pueden inscribirse en cursos, no pueden completar su certificado o su título. Estamos comprometidos a ayudar a estos estudiantes a borrar esta deuda, completar su credencial y comenzar su carrera profesional. Queremos también dentro de este programa ayudar a estos estudiantes que son más de 21,000 exalumnos y con una deuda de poquito más de 17.7 millones. Estos estudiantes son primordialmente afroamericano y latino, y muchos provienen de los barrios en la ciudad de Chicago más afectados durante este periodo que hemos vivido y esta crisis económica. Este programa Fresh Start va a ser por un tiempo limitado. Y para esos estudiantes que han tenido algún éxito en el pasado también. Si eres un estudiante interesado, la información que tenemos para que sepas más de esto es, puede llamarlos al 773 College o visitarnos en la página www.ccc.edu freshstart. Con eso, quisiera invitar a la persona que ha inspirado este programa. I'd like to invite the person that has inspired this program with her agenda and her vision for our city, Mayor Lori Lightfoot.
Thank you, Chancellor Salgado, and really you're the one that inspires us. I think you have placed such an incredible emphasis on making sure they were doing right by the entire City College's population, and you've been a tireless advocate on behalf of students and really connecting them up with the kind of opportunities that they need to be able to thrive. So thank you very much for your leadership. I also want to thank Ricky Lowitz of the Working Credit NFP for partnering with us. Your organization's help is going to be incredibly invaluable to the students who are able to take advantage of this. I also want to say thank you for Latille Willis, who you'll hear from in a moment, for being here with us today. This is about furthering our citywide commitment to educating Chicagoans, no matter their age, no matter their circumstances or when they left the City College's system. Without your partnership and collaboration, today's exciting announcement would not have been possible. Today's announcement is the next big step forward in our ongoing effort to really combat poverty and bring people back into opportunities that are going to help them for the rest of their lives. Eliminate the fines and fees debt that denied too many Chicagoans a fair shot at upward mobility. For many climbing up that ladder, the pursuit of the higher education is a necessary rung to cross in order to cultivate their talents and obtain their dream careers. However, for far too many aren't able to reach that point, and some fall off the ladder completely because they're weighed down by debt, something I know very well personally, having come out of my undergraduate career with a mountain of debt. No Chicagoan should be forced to fall so far behind while pursuing the very thing that can propel them to a stable middle-class lifestyle and out of poverty. When that doesn't happen, when they're not able to excel, we all lose. So that's why today, building on our fines and fees reforms we announced last year and our utility billing relief program we announced earlier this month, the Second City is giving Chicagoans a second chance to restart and finish their academic journey. I'm proud to be standing with the Chancellor and others that are here to announce the launch of this Fresh Start program, a debt forgiveness program welcoming students back to college. The Fresh Start program, as the Chancellor said, will offer more than 21,000 former City Colleges students who left the system within the last 10 years the opportunity to return to college, clear out their debt, and earn a college degree or a certificate. These are students who have already accumulated some college credit and left in good standing. The vast majority, as the Chancellor indicated, are Black and brown and come from the communities most impacted by the economic crisis and COVID-19. And some only have one course or one semester left before they get their degrees. These are students like Dante Baker that the Chancellor talked about. And so we need to do everything we can to support these individuals, these adults, and give them the opportunity to come back, finish their degrees, earn a certificate, but do so with the possibility of eliminating their debt entirely. And to help them further, as the Chancellor indicated, they're going to have a City Colleges advisor. They'll have financial empowerment sessions with our partner, Working Credit. And it will allow them to graduate financially stronger and more prepared to take advantage of the career opportunities our city in our post-COVID world will offer. It's also in all of our interest to cultivate this city's talent. and have as many folks as possible trained and ready to work. Employers are looking for them, and we need to do our part to make sure that we build up a ready, willing, and able workforce, and financial means should not be an impediment to making that happen for young people, for adults, all over our city. And that's exactly what the Fresh Start program aims to do. I will repeat what the Chancellor said and encourage anyone who's interested to take advantage of this program by calling 773-COLLEGE. That's 773-COLLEGE, or going online at ccc.edu/Fresh Start. That's the City College's website, ccc.edu/Fresh Start. Registration remains open until August 20th. So you've got a month to get yourself in order, to sign up and come back to college. So don't let this opportunity go to waste. Upward mobility doesn't have to be a pipe dream anymore. City Colleges is demonstrating that they care about you and that they have your back, and our city has your back as well. So come back to college, take advantage of this program, and I look forward to seeing the number of people who are able to realize their dreams once this debt is cleared away and they can move forward. So at this point, I'd like to welcome Latille Willis to say a few words. Latille?
Thank you, Mayor Lightfoot, for having me here today and creating this opportunity for me and many students like me to continue education. My name is Latille Willis, and I was a student at Harold Washington in the fall of 2018. I was working and studying and started to feel overwhelmed with the classes that I was taking. I ended up dropping a few of my classes, but the problem was I had missed the tuition refund deadline and ended up accumulating that debt. I was still responsible for paying off that tuition. I was working 2 full-time jobs and I was so motivated, but I was just unable to pay off the rest of that tuition. I have always dreamed of earning my business degree and having a career in fashion. And it was difficult for me to realize that I might not ever be able to do so. And I want to set an example for my 4-month-old son so that he can see me go to college and know that it's possible for him as well. When I got a call about the City College's Fresh Start debt forgiveness program, I was beyond excited. I would finally be able to go back in the classroom and work towards my degree, and I would be able to pursue my dream. I would like to thank Mayor Lightfoot and Chancellor Salgado for creating this program and making it possible for students like me to be able to move forward in our education, our careers, and our lives. I am so grateful for the opportunity and more motivated than ever before. I would now like to introduce Ricky Granitz-Lowitz, co-founder and CEO of Working Credit.
Thank you, Latille. And thank you to Mayor Lightfoot and Chancellor Salgado for the opportunity to participate in this innovative and inspiring program. It's an honor to share the podium with you both. We are grateful for this chance to help returning students build financial health, an asset that will help them leverage their City College's education and be ready to build wealth when the economy begins to recover. As you can tell from our name, Working Credit NFP, we are a nonprofit with a focus on credit. Our counselors can assist students with any financial concerns, but we keep an eye on credit always, as we see good credit as a critical part of financial health and resiliency. In fact, we launched Working Credit in 2014 specifically to help people build prime or super prime scores and reap the benefits, and the benefits are many. With good credit comes access to good jobs, because at least 1/3 of employees check credit. Access to quality rental apartments, because over 40% of landlords check credit. Access to competitive interest rates on car loans and credit cards, which can save students thousands of dollars over time. And so important to wealth creation, access to home ownership. It takes a FICO score of at least 620 to qualify for a mortgage in this country, and yet we know that approximately 40% of adults in the United States have either no FICO credit score at all or a subprime score below 620. In low-income neighborhoods, the numbers are higher. We know 46% of adults have no FICO credit score at all. And the data suggests another 38% have scores under 620. And while I mentioned the upside of a good credit score, it's important to talk about the cost of poor or no credit as well. We see car loans at 25% interest all the time, car insurance rates that are often doubled, and contracts from rent-to-own stores for basic necessities like refrigerators and mattresses at prices marked up by 400%. Many people say it costs more to be poor, but at Working Credit, we think the real cost comes not from being poor, but from having a subprime credit score or no score at all. But there is good news, and that is why we started Working Credit. The credit scoring system, especially if you know the rules, is highly elastic. It's possible for people from all walks of life to go from being unscored to a prime score of 700 in as little as 6 months. And it's possible for people with low credit scores to see real gains. The average increase we see in our program at 6 months is 30 points, but depending on the situation, we've seen 100-point gains in that time frame as well. Through Fresh Start, our counselors will work in partnership with returning City College students. Our program has 3 core elements. We start by explaining how the credit system works. Who is sending information to the credit bureaus and who isn't? What information are they sending and how often are they sending it? We then work with each student to build a personalized credit action plan focused on their particular financial concerns and goals. And finally, we stick with each person, providing as much one-on-one guidance and support as they need to be successful. Along the way, we focus on 3 metrics of financial health and resiliency. First, are Fresh Start students achieving prime credit scores so they don't have to borrow at predatory rates? Second, are they building a safety net of available credit? As COVID-19 has taught us, a buffer of available credit can make an enormous difference, especially if it keeps someone from having to take a payday loan. And third, our Fresh Start students, as they turn their education into good jobs with benefits, contributing to an automated savings program, like a 401k or a 403b, and therefore saving for retirement. Most importantly, we are excited to get started. City Colleges of Chicago is breaking new ground by marrying debt forgiveness with both academic advising and financial counseling, and we could not be more thrilled to be a part of it. Thank you.
This time we'll take questions.
I have several questions from Kate McKee at WBEZ, who follows education a lot more closely than I do, thank goodness.
Thank you.
Do you have specific numbers on how many students need not just one class to finish their degree versus a full semester or a year of classes?
Yeah, it's a very wide range. And so I don't have the specific data for you. I can tell you that it ranges from a student that may have as few as 3 credits, which means that they've got a long way to go if they're going for an associate's degree, but not so long if they're going for a basic certificate or an advanced degree. This really depends on their chosen career path. That may have shifted as well, but we also, again, have many students that have a shorter path. And so this program is available to all of them, last 10 years, who have had academic success as well.
Do you have a sense of what your fall enrollment will be based on? Current registration numbers, or do you see a difference in summer registration this year compared to last summer?
We had a very successful transition to remote and online instruction at City Colleges. We're very proud of it. We had, I would say, a pretty good summer given the circumstances. Our overall credit hour enrollment, that's the number of credit hours that our students actually take, ended up being down by 1%. And we just don't know. This, and our students, by the way, they register at the very, at the very end. So we see the lion's share of our registration within the 30 days prior to the close of registration. It has to do with their ability to pay, quite frankly. And so we just don't know right now. There's a lot of uncertainty. I will tell you that, this program and other efforts, we've raised $2 million in additional financial help to put out to students that may have trouble and need a little bit of grant assistance this fall. We're activating City College's foundation even further. We're looking ways to support our students in this very, very difficult time.
What happens if the students re-enroll, complete the fall semester, and then drop out again before completing a degree? Will that first half of debt that was forgiven remain waived?
Yes.
Hold on, she has several more. Just a second.
Although the intent, let me just be clear, the intent here with our partner, Working Credit, is to make sure that we're supporting our students in their financial planning. Oftentimes, it is the great impediment that stops our students in their tracks, if you will, in terms of their education. And so, we believe that this additional support, and this is intensive support, it's individualized support, along with really mandating that advisor connection that is so critical, will really lead to success here, sustained success for our students.
If the tuition refund deadline is an issue for so many students, why not just eliminate the tuition refund deadline so students don't go into debt in the first place?
I don't think it works that way. We're serious about students paying. I am, as chancellor, came in 3 years ago, and we didn't have a payment deadline. And I moved to have a payment deadline. I moved to having payment plans and supporting students. It doesn't help anybody to not have a payment deadline, to not have a way to pay. What often happens to students in higher education, quite frankly, is the institutions don't pay enough attention to this. And therefore, the student is taking on more debt than they and their family can afford to take on, and don't have a plan for completion, quite frankly. And I believe that we need to be upfront working with students to make sure that they have not just an academic plan, but a financial plan that gets them to and through their entire post-secondary experience. I don't believe that we should just be turning, the blind eye, if you will, and then seeing the consequences later. That's why you have such high student debt all across this country. Students are making choices without a real plan, and we're changing that at City Colleges. We've changed that already.
Does this qualify for students who dropped out during the spring 2020 semester or those who dropped out with debt previous to the spring 2020?
It includes all students in the prior 10 years that meet the criteria that we talked about, including students that dropped in the spring 2020 semester.
One last one. How does CCC plan to cover the nearly $18 million in losses if everyone who qualifies takes advantage of the debt?
Yeah. This, be very clear about this. This is debt that has already been written off by our institution. Debt that, quite frankly, is not likely to, be collected in the future. And as in terms of our financials within the institution, again, we've written it off. By the way, I just want to point out, our bad debt was rising as an institution. It was all the way up to $10 million when I arrived here at City Colleges. We've gotten it down to $4 million a year, which is a manageable level and in line with, industry standards. And we intend to keep it that way by working to support our students and having the previous mentioned policies in place that ensure students have a way to pay.
Thank you. Mayor, I have several for you. From Jorge D. Santiago from Telemundo. Local school councils across Chicago are weighing whether to keep or remove the school police officers. Should the contract for school police officers be renewed? Any comments about local school councils that have voted to remove the school police officers?
No, I've been very clear about this. Whether that school decides to have a school resource officer should be made by the local school council. That's been my position all along. I think that they are best situated to really understand the safety needs in any given school, and I support all local school councils having the information and tools that they need to be able to make a well-informed decision.
Jim Williams from CBS2. We've talked to several CPS teachers who are worried about returning to the classroom this school year. They say it is unsafe. Are you ready to, as you come up with this plan to reopen, what is your message to teachers and parents?
Well, look, there's no environment in which we can completely eliminate risk. You leave your house, you're stepping into risk. What we have tried to do all along is make sure that in any environment that we're in, that we're educating people about what the risks are, we're educating them about what they can individually do to minimize that risk, and that we're creating environments, whether it's a store or whether it's a house of worship or any other environment where we minimize the risk. Obviously, we've been emphasizing social distancing. We've been emphasizing wearing a face covering anytime you leave your home, and continuing to make sure that you're exercising the hand hygiene requirements that we know make a difference. All of those things matter. And anything that happens with reopening of schools, all of those elements will be there. I believe that CPS will be announcing shortly a framework that will be the starting point of a discussion that has to involve parents and teachers and other members of the school community, and obviously people speaking on behalf of students, to think about what the potential options are. But the reality is we're here in mid-July. CPS typically doesn't start school until right after Labor Day. A lot can happen between now and then, and that's why no matter what the framework and the discussions, we're always going to be guided by what the public health metrics tell us at that time. We'll be able to make that decision, I think, definitively closer in time, late August. But we need to start the discussion now about what the potential options are and get feedback from a whole variety of stakeholders in the school community.
But you understand parents, of course, want to plan ahead. They're working as
course.
well. And to have to wait till late August and school's going to start a week or two later, that's putting them right up against the deadline, too.
But that's why we're starting the conversation and engagement with parents now. I think we would be remiss if we said definitively now in July, when we've got, at least 6 more weeks, a little longer before school starts, we're going to open. Or definitively now, we're not going to open. Our metrics are pretty good and stable, although we're concerned about the new cases that are growing in that 18 to 29-year-old cohort. That's a great concern, and we're watching that. But this is going to be an iterative process. As we've learned over these last 4 months, this disease is unpredictable, and it takes many twists and turns. We've got to anticipate and be prepared, but we're not going to know specifically until we get closer in time.
From Block Club, Kelly Bauer, parents and community members are having a tough time attending local school meetings as they weigh the important issues of cops at schools. Back to that. CPS says there is not a master list of those meetings. How do you expect the parents to engage in the process if they can't find out when there is a meeting at their school? Well,
look, the local school councils themselves really own primary responsibility for getting that information out. And if there's an issue, then we'll look into it. But typically, when and how and what the circumstances are that those local school councils are meeting is controlled by them, not by the central office at CPS. But we'll certainly look into it if it's an issue.
All right, today from Craig Dellamore, the city has expanded its quarantine on travelers from 2 new states, including neighboring Iowa. Is it fair to say, though, that this remains more of an honor system, since officials really can't check folks driving in and out of the state?
Yeah,
I'd be in trouble. Hold on. Is there any evidence that the restrictions are being respected?
I think they are, and we certainly looked a lot at the states that put these restrictions in ahead of us, particularly states on the East Coast. I believe New York has a similar restriction, New Jersey, Connecticut. So we've really kind of followed their lead. But a lot of this is about also raising awareness that if you're coming from one of these areas where you're seeing case rates explode, where you're seeing hospitalizations in ICU beds, where you see increase in percent positivity of people testing positive, it is, I think, an important thing to raise the consciousness of people that are living in and coming from those locations about what their obligations are if they want to travel.
New York is taking a stricter approach and is enforcing their travel order, and they're requiring the travelers to give contact information. Are you considering that as well?
You know, we're looking at the evolution of that, but we don't want to create a bureaucracy that's actually impossible to implement. I think raising the consciousness, continuing to educate people about that are both here about the risk of traveling to other states that where the public health metrics are not good. It really does have value, but I don't want to create a whole bureaucracy that we actually can't ever even implement.
Other states have included Wisconsin on their travel list. Would Chicago do the same?
Look, I don't want to speculate about what might happen, but suffice it to say, we're paying very close attention everywhere around us, and particularly states in the Midwest that border Illinois and Chicago.
And that would include Wisconsin?
Oh, of course. Wisconsin, Michigan, Indiana. We're looking very closely at what their numbers are every single day.
When will the beaches be reopened, and considering that public guidance indicates that outdoor spaces are safer than indoor spaces, and many Chicagoans seem to be traveling to neighboring states to go to the beach?
I'm not confident that we're going to open the beaches anytime soon, and here's why. It's not just about being outside, which is in some ways safer, but it's about congregation. We open up the beaches, people are going to flock to the beaches, much harder to impose social distancing and really emphasize decompression of those kinds of spaces. So until we feel like we are in a good place, and right now, as I mentioned, we're starting to see a slight uptick in cases, so the beaches conversation is one that's going to have to come down the road.
But as John Byrne points out, what about the dangers of people swimming anyway without lifeguards on duty?
Well, we've said that many, many times, and what you're going to see if you go to the beaches, all the lifeguard chairs have bright red flags. That's universal signal that those are unguarded. We do have some people on the beach, but even if there's lifeguards there, the lake is dangerous. The lake levels are up at historic levels. Just the other day, I was near a beach looking out on the lake, and the waves coming crashing in. The lake is not safe. That's been true historically. It's particularly true, I think, now that we have historically high lake levels, and we're seeing the waves crashing and really having a fierceness that makes the lake dangerous. So lifeguards or not, the lake is dangerous.
Have you noticed the lakefront trails are quite dirty? I mean, there is garbage all over the place.
I haven't noticed that, but now I will. And I'll make sure that we do something about that.
In Grant Park, I've gotten notes from people today who tell me that because of the civil unrest a few weeks ago, the garbage cans were taken away and not replaced. The lakefront is, on a Tuesday morning, is...
I'm on it.
Thank you. I think a lot of people appreciate it. And John Byrne has one other one about Wrigley Field. Friday night games. What do you make of that? Do you think that's a good idea, Friday night games at Wrigley?
Well, I've had a lot of conversation with Alderman Tunney, who, as you know, is an incredible advocate for his community, about whether or not that makes sense. Obviously, this is an opportunity that the league wants to showcase the Cubs and Wrigley Field. So I think that the protections that have been put in place are reasonable. We'll obviously recalibrate if necessary, but I feel comfortable with the plan that's been agreed to.
And Amy Jacobs wants to know, yesterday you introduced us to the Census Cowboy. Is he really going to be a census ambassador? And if so, is it a paid position?
It's not a paid position, and yes, he's absolutely already started his work. He's going to be traveling to those communities that have an overall lowest, the 10 lowest response rates. And we want to just do everything that we can to emphasize to folks the importance of filling out the census. It takes 5 minutes. It's easy to do either online, you can call a phone number, or starting in August, paper census ballots are going to be coming, but it's really, really important that everyone in the city is counted. It makes a difference in the monies that we receive from the federal government to make sure that we get our fair share. Schools, parks, infrastructure, and of course, our representation in the House of Representatives is all dependent upon federal dollars. And in this time in particular, where many of our small businesses, many of our local institutions are really struggling as a result of COVID-19, critically important that we get every dollar from the federal government to which we're entitled, and that's dictated by the census.
I missed one minute, please, just real quick.
Yep,
What kind
sure.
of vice president would Tammy Duckworth make? This is from Bill Cameron. And should Joe Biden choose her as his running mate?
Well, I'm not going to pretend to dictate to the vice president who he should choose as a running mate. I think he's been very clear. Obviously, he's committed to choosing a woman. He's got to choose someone who is ready on day one to be able to help him lead and really repair the damage that's been done over these last almost 4 years of the current administration. Tammy Duckworth, obviously, her life story really precedes itself and tells its story. She's a courageous American hero, a real veteran. I think she's been an incredible champion for us here in Illinois, and I think she'd make a terrific vice president.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Marianne.
Thank you.